What is going on, everybody, and welcome in. It's Lineman Life Live Monday, motivational Monday, and man, started off hot like fire. My goodness. I hope everybody's doing well. It is March 7th. It's Pisces season, man. I mean, my birthday's on the 20th, you know? Pisces all day here. But, it's the NFL season has ended, weeks ago. And we still have a lot of top stories to talk about straight from the league.
Never ceases.
And today is no exception, folks, because as most of you know, most all of you should know by now, the NFL is officially suspending Calvin Ridley, standout wide receiver from the Atlanta Falcons, guy who had 1,300 yards receiving in 2020. Along with 9 touchdowns. He has been suspended for the entirety of at least the 2022 season for gambling on NFL games. I mean, now, you in hot water when that comes. When that kind of situation happens, you are in Pete Rose territory now. You was about to say around and never play this game again.
Yeah, so I was like, somewhere Pete Rose is like, finally.
I told you guys, everybody does it.
Take the fucking spotlight off me. That was 50 years ago.
This is huge. This is really a big story in the NFL because this is something that, and I was asked this earlier online, whether or not, every player knows and understands that you cannot gamble on games. When I tell you that you likely cannot turn a corner in your workout facility in the NFL without seeing a laminated, posted sign that reminds you that it is not okay to gamble on games in this league. I think we all, everyone is well aware of that as far as players, as far as coaches, as far as training staff. Yes. We all know it's 100%. There is not a single person in the NFL who participates in this sport who does not know that is like a golden rule. That is like one of those rules that you don't really hear about it being broken very much because that's one that can end everything for you as a participant in the NFL.
Cardinal sin.
That is a cardinal sin. That's like damn near you get the death penalty for that. What's considered the death penalty in the NFL, which is complete banishment.
Yep.
Now, I wish it was just that simple to be like, hey, he got caught gambling, and the NFL lays out the punishment and we move on about our day. But as you know, that is not how things work in this world. It can never be simple.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that in depth. I was shocked when I heard this. When I heard it come out, when I heard this news hit, it was shocking because it's like, how do you gamble? How do you it doesn't really make sense as a player because there's so many variables that can all end up pretty negatively if you get caught gambling, that will all end up negatively if you get caught gambling in the NFL. Now, there's a lot more to this. I mean, what did you think when you first saw this, Justin? I mean, what was your first reaction?
The first thing I thought was, how the hell did they keep this under wraps so long? Initially, I thought, because, he missed the whole season or whatever, or, the majority of the season. I was like, oh, shit, did they know about this the whole time? And they just said it was mental health reasons, or I think they said personal reasons. Initially. Because he was on NFI
twice. He was on NFI twice on mental health breaks. Yeah.
Yeah, he was on NFI for a long time. And I think this actually happened when he was on the NFI list. Which kind of raises an interesting question. Is that if you're not on a roster, does it matter if you're gambling?
There's a variable right there. If you're not an active participant, you're not on the active roster.
Yeah.
Does it matter? Doesn't matter.
See,
I think
the plot thickens.
The plot does thicken because I mean, I didn't really think about that because the way that I've always seen it is as long as you are an active role, like you are signed to a team, as long as you're signed to a team or you have not like declared retirement,
Right.
I would have thought that that's where you're like in the bubble of you can't gamble on games because you're not retired. And you're not like, and even if you're a free agent, I feel like that's still a rule.
Yeah. See, I was like, how different is being on NFI than being a free agent? I mean, he's not in the facility. I mean, obviously, yes, you could still text guys. Hey, man, are you hurt this week? Are you good to go? You know, how are we looking?
You gonna play? What's up? What's good? What's good?
I mean, that could happen. But
how you feel? How was practice this week?
I mean, from what I've gathered so far, he was, in a completely different state on his break. So I'm really curious. I mean, I haven't looked at bylaws or anything like that. I'm not.
Yeah.
It's not my money, so I don't care that much. But if somebody wants to tell me, how the legalities or how that kind of protocol works, I'd be more than happy to read 2 sentences.
So let's take a look here real quick. This is what hold on, let me pull it up. This is the statement from the NFL. And most people have probably seen this already. I'm just going to breeze through it real quickly. It says, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell today suspended Calvin Ridley of the Atlanta Falcons indefinitely through at least the conclusion of the 2022 season for betting on NFL games in the 2021 season. The activity took place during a 5-day period in late November 2021, while Ridley was not with the team and was away from the club's facility on the NFI non-football illness list. A league investigation uncovered no evidence indicating any inside information was used or that any game was compromised in any way, nor was there evidence suggesting any awareness by coaches, staff, teammates, or other players of his betting activity.
They had to say that.
They have to legally say that.
Even if there was like text messages and everything, they can't acknowledge this.
The moment you acknowledge anybody knew, credibility for the league's fairness, which is questionable to a lot of people to begin with, is shot up and out the window, verifiably. Now, that's the main gist of this. Now, Goodell went on to talk about all this other shit about, integrity of the game, whatever with that, right? We know that that's what's really at stake when you talk about gambling on games, of any sport. If you're a player and participant in any sport and you gamble on that sport, that does jeopardize the credibility of the level playing field. But usually that's when somebody is involved with on-field action, like you're out there.
Yes.
And you're betting on, a team.
Yeah, you have a direct effect on the outcome of a game.
Exactly. You have an effect on that. Now, also, when you look at, and we have this was broken by this was broken by what's his name here? Albert Breer was the one who broke this, right? So it kind of, he goes through it. There's a bit of, and I want to go through this and kind of give people a little bit of perspective here before we really get into the nitty-gritty of this, because there's a topic I want to get into that is directly related to this, that I think people would be interested to hear. But I want to give you as much information as I can about this situation before we kind of mesh these things together. So how did Calvin Ridley get busted? He was in Florida and used the only gambling app legal in the state. The app notified a compliance company the NFL has hired called Genius for this kind of thing. So, and I can already kind of see how this played out. In my mind, I know how he ended up gambling on this. I don't think that he did it because he was necessarily trying to gamble on NFL games. And I'll get to it. I'll explain why in a second. That he was out of state was a factor in Ridley's activity being flagged. So I have, and I'm in the state of Georgia. We're both in the state of Georgia. Mm-hmm. And if you try to use DraftKings, you can't use it because online gambling is not legal in the state of Georgia. So the problem begins where, as a player, I'm thinking to myself, when this was all made legal a couple years back, man, wouldn't it be great? What would it be like if you gamble on games? You know, they're making it legal now, right? You know what I mean? That would be kind of cool, right? Yeah, but you know you can't. So you move on. But in this situation, he's in a unique spot where he's not on the team technically. He's on the team as in they have his rights. He's signed to them, but he's not an active part of the team, right? So he's in Florida hanging out. Not really, you know, he's not with the team. He's taking his time off. Mental issues. He's trying to get himself right. He's, you know, with some family in Florida. You're sitting there and you see a DraftKings commercial come on from the NFL on TV. And they've got the Jaguars this week. Shit. Wonder if it'd be worth it to see if I can get on that app.
Easy come up.
I think it's legal, right? I just want to see if it'll work, right? You know?
Oh, shit.
So he whips out his phone, downloads the DraftKings app that the NFL has allowed to be a sponsor officially of the NFL.
You can't watch a single game without seeing the DraftKings.
Oh, you see fucking over-unders right there on the screen. Part of the damn user interface. Part of the experience. So, you know, you're sitting there. Calvin Ridley, who's not on the team, feels like, hey, would they care? How would they know? You know, how would they know? I'm just going to go on here. I'm going to make up a fake name, yada, 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 not knowing that your SIM, your IP that your phone uses, everything has your name on it. Of course, you should have used a VPN. That's something that the NFL don't sponsor or doesn't have as a sponsor. VPN. Should have used yourself a VPN. Would have hid you from, but then it wouldn't let you sign up because they got to know what state you're in. I know this because I tried it. So Ridley gets on this app, signs up in Florida, and of course, a red flag comes up by this company called Genius because Calvin Ridley's name popping up as a new account would match the Calvin Ridley name that is actually on an NFL roster in their database, I'm sure, because they have a database with everyone's name, birth date, you know, maybe even their social security number as well. You never know.
Sure, yeah.
So with all these things matching up, boom, he gets popped. The NFL is alerted. Of course, this is how you track people down. This is why I always tell people, as much true crime shows as I watch on TV and on YouTube, don't you ever commit a crime with your cell phone. Don't you, if you're going to commit a crime, don't be around your cell phone because that's how they're going to lock you in. That's how they link you in. That's how they give you life.
Yes.
Just a heads up for the would-be perpetrators out there. Leave your phone at the house. Set it to schedule text messages to go out every 10 minutes. They'll never get you. They'll never get you.
How to get away with murder?
You know what I mean? So he gets flagged by them. Now let's talk about the bets. What kind of bets did he have here? So it says here he was placed on the NFL or the NFI list on November 5th. The bets happened from November 23rd to November 28th. It was a series of less than 10 wagers from his cell phone, including three under 5 and under 8 game parlays. He did bet on the Falcons, but never against them.
Okay.
I mean, hey, he's got some integrity. You know what I mean? At least.
Hey, yeah. Now I'm gonna ride with my dogs.
I'm gonna ride with my squad. They're going to Duval. Yeah, they're gonna get that one. They're gonna get that dub.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that's how they were feeling last year. So he put on some bets. He says here, and here's one more tweet from Albert Breer. He says, I see people painting Calvin Ridley as a victim here. And I mean, come on, we all understand why a sports league can't allow its players to bet on its games, right? And why it has to come down on a player and why it has to come down on a player if it happens. I swear it's not that complicated. Now, to an extent, I agree. Yes, it is not You are not getting let off the hook if you get caught gambling by any sports league.
By no
They
means.
are not letting you off the hook. You will pay a severe price. Now, Calvin Ridley had his own response to this situation as well. Let's take a look at that quickly. Calvin Ridley, and what I find to be somewhat hilarious, but also kind of confirms that you was wrong on this one.
Yeah, this I don't know who let him make this fucking tweet, man.
I don't know why he tweeted this. I really don't know why he tweeted this. He says, "I bet 1,500 total. I don't have a gambling problem."
Why would you do this?
Why?
What was the movie with Will Smith where he was the con man?
Shit, the con man in it. You talking about
it was him and the Harley Quinn girl was the main characters.
Him and Eva Mendes.
They started off like the very beginning of the movie was at the Superdome. I mean, it doesn't matter what the fucking movie was, but all I remember was this line: "You die with a lie." You die with the lie.
To the grave, baby. I don't know what they're talking about.
Unless I got a picture of me on my phone.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
They got the whole thing videoed of me shooting this thing, like, nah, man.
Hitting the send button while holding my picture ID in my hand.
Yeah. Like, come on,
you
bro.
You know what I mean?
Like, this is 2022. It wasn't me. My boy had my phone.
My shit got hacked, cuz.
I got hacked. Yeah. I mean, somebody gonna believe you nowadays.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, people believe anything now.
Charlie, take you a petla. Dude, I'm sorry. I always mess up your name. Charlie for $5 says, guess Jags aren't trading for him anymore. Oh no, and here's another crazy aspect of this. There were teams who were actively trying to trade for him, and the Falcons backed out of talks because they could not in good faith trade him because they had already been alerted by the NFL about his situation and that he was going to get suspended.
Yep.
So they had to back out of numerous conversations about trading for Calvin Ridley. Now, there's also some, and honestly, there is another side to this story that cannot be ignored. Cannot be ignored. And I'm going to do the respect of putting up this tweet here, my boy Charles James II, because his tweet really does make a very valid point, and it's something that we do have to talk about because this is not something that's happening in a vacuum. This is something that, when you're looking at it from one end, you have what appears to be a league that is taking, full control of the situation, bringing the hammer down on a player who's violated one of the most sacred rules in not only football, but sports in general. You don't bet on the games. True enough. Now, when you say you don't bet on the games, then there has to be something of equal representation in investigating and bringing a hammer down when we talk about a situation like this. Calvin Ridley getting suspended a year for betting on games, but they literally tried to pay Brian Flores to tank on his team season, but the NFL wants to talk about integrity. Stop it. And this does draw some eyes here. I mean, some of his hot takes I just cannot stand to read or listen to. But Emmanuel Acho, he's got his eyes on this tweet apparently. But I think that this is a valid point that the NFL has no answer to. They literally have no answer to this because at the end of the day, this is a league that claims it wants to talk about integrity, but not only did we have one of the premier NFL head coaches come out and say, and look, you say what you want about Brian Flores. He is a premier NFL head coach.
Yep.
He should be still to this day the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. He brought that. He has winning record with that franchise. He carried that franchise with a roster that was built to lose. He carried that franchise to winning seasons. And when he comes out and says himself that he was offered money to tank, which is in a way, which is clearly a way of manipulating the integrity of and the fairness of the sport itself, which is in the same league, in the same, I think the same category, you could even say, as gambling, except you're pretty much assuring yourself something by paying for a service from a head coach to lose, when we know that is not in accordance with the principles of the NFL, of sports and team sports in general. But I think that this was an excellent point made by Charles James. Now, there's a third leg to this as well, and then we can kind of bust it open and start talking more in open discussion about it, me and Justin here. The NFL is a sport, or I'm sorry, the NFL is an entity that has directly aligned itself with gambling, has directly gotten in bed with gambling. A team that has moved, or an entity that has moved a team. What was the Oakland Raiders to Las Vegas, the capital of Mecca. Gambling, the gambling capital of this country. So what does it say about the rules of it when there are so many things that you can look at from the outside and say, well, doesn't the NFL already pretty much use gambling in games to like make more money?
Yep.
Like, do we not think that they're influencing these games with the ridiculous amounts of bad calls and misses on things that professional referees should never miss on? These are things that are causing, untold controversy in the league itself, but amongst fans, but also it brings in that kind of element of as to whether or not teams are gambling. I mean, I look at the franchise owners, and I say, if you're the Miami Dolphins owner and you're paying, if Brian Flores accepts $100,000 a game to lose, well, who's to say that as the owner, I wouldn't go bet $5 million on every game to make sure, to get to just load up the money, and they can do that through many third parties. You would never know. You would never find out.
Oh yeah. Guys with that type of money are excellent at hiding their moves.
I really do feel like
there's a lot of
hypocrisy being slung around when
sure.
you look at how they punish a player, but they haven't even really looked into the situation with Brian Flores being offered to be paid to lose games. That's gambling in a sense too. So, how do you look at this with all these things considered? Because again, it's much, much bigger than just, Calvin Ridley got caught gambling $1,500 on football games when he wasn't even like actively playing.
Man, there's so many layers to this thing. And the fact that now that, the NFL is in bed with, organized gambling, and, maybe some unorganized, if you know what I'm saying.
Absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it for a second.
And anytime you lie down, you lie down with dogs, you know what happened.
You know what I mean?
So, I mean, this is, I don't want to say it's a byproduct of, us aligning ourselves with that industry. Because, I mean, I'm sure these things have happened in the past and, were unchecked or just didn't get caught because guys did it better. If you go to a bookie in person or something, I guess there's not really a way to get caught. I mean, I hope that hasn't happened in the past, but I mean, human nature tells you it surely has.
I mean, there's a good chance that it has. Absolutely.
So it is a little unnerving that for a game that stresses, integrity, fairness, so much that there's, one standard, it seems, for players.
Rules for thee, but not for me.
and it's not only with gambling that it seems that there's a certain way that, punishment is doled out on players versus staff, administration, and so on. So I mean, we've been complaining about that for many, many years. Cats get DUIs or something. I mean, it's got a little bit better on that front. But I mean, back in the day, that would be like instant suspension and shit. No due process legally. It's just boom, you're out for X games or whatever. But then you turn around and someone in administration, coach, can do the same thing, and we're gonna let the law look at this before we do anything. So there's always been, some, and I get it. That's more the forward-facing part of the league is the players. So we got to be swift, so the fans can feel good about their Sunday afternoons.
I mean, I think that there's and no, I agree with what you're saying. I think that the NFL obviously comes down on this immediately because they want it to seem like, we are all about the fairness of the game. We're all about consistency and the continuity of our game being fair and highly competitive, and the best team wins. When that's something that's questionable. That's something that has been questionable over the last few decades. Just with a number of different occurrences that have happened where maybe refs missing calls that are blatant. Refs calling penalties that are clearly not penalties. I mean, you go back and look at the Super Bowl that we just had with the Bengals. The Bengals get called for a holding on third down in the red zone. That's not holding. It's actually exactly what you want. It's what you actually ask for from players, and that's something that changed the game because it's arguable whether or not LA would have gotten into the end zone after that. But
sure. But I mean, you can always say, "Oh, it's the human element that we're striving for."
Like shut the fuck up! Like, come on, he's the human element. My ass. You can tell if a dude gets pulled a lot of times.
Oh man, yes, I agree.
So,
but that's the cop
even with everything that's going on. I mean, we look at the hypocrisy of it because there is definitely hypocrisy there from the league itself. And every word that they spew about this, there will be hypocrisy. It will be laced in hypocrisy. Because of what we've already been, shown with the Brian Flores situation, but also with, just these consistent, like coincidental things that happen during games that just completely change the games. And sometimes, I mean, yes, it's football, but sometimes you're like, I mean, to me, it always comes back down to the refs because it's like, why flags coming out now when they ain't been coming out all game? Why are they coming out now?
That was crunch time. Like, shit could actually get done.
You know what I mean? Like it's crunch time when you actually should let the players play because now it's a matter of who can execute better. Now, if there's something blatant, of course, but if it ain't blatant, y'all playing.
Yep.
But I look at the situation and I really feel like when you look at how they've punished them for it, which. That's something that you can even talk about. Like, does the punishment necessarily fit the crime when we're talking about this? Now, I don't know the full details of Pete Rose and how his situation played out. I know that he was, I don't remember whether, I think he gambled when he was a player, but he also gambled as a manager as well. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think he got caught when he was a manager, if I remember right.
I think that might be right. Maybe somebody in the chat can
happening the whole time.
Yeah, somebody in the chat
this is before
can definitely help us with that. Yeah.
We weren't even twinkles in our dad's eye at this point.
Well, what's this?
I said we weren't even a twinkle in our dad's eye. So I didn't.
Oh yeah, we were still hanging out in the balls at that point.
Yeah, I wasn't
way back
privy to that. Yeah, I did not.
But we've all heard the story of Pete Rose, right? Like we've all heard the story.
Cautionary tale.
Gambling. A cautionary tale, absolutely. He got caught gambling, and he was subsequently banned for life. And they've been spending, I guess, the last 40 years trying to get him into the Hall of Fame. And that's the only thing keeping him out because he was a Hall of Fame player by all stretches of the imagination.
Yeah.
And that has been the great mark on his, not only his career, but his life as a player, like as an individual, as a public figure. That's the mark that he wears. That's the scarlet letter he's worn for decades. Now, I'm not a huge baseball aficionado, but knowing his story, I do feel like that's way too far that they've gone with, with suppressing him as an individual because of that. Yes, he gambled on the game, and I think he's paid the price and then some that he should be led into the Hall of Fame at this point. But with Calvin Ridley, I'm torn whether or not this is a just punishment, because one, $1,500, it's the principle of it, absolutely I understand, but we're not talking about a guy who was making like his fucking salary off this shit. You know what I mean? And he was, it wasn't like he was like Ron Mexico and we had no idea. And he's just over here just smashing games and hitting all kinds of parlays.
Oh, shit.
And he's with an $11 million freaking paragraph 5. He ain't over here hitting like 6-7 mil. And we like, yo,
yeah,
this
you're
cat is
not
literally
taking
doubling up. Gambling.
You're not taking mattress Mac bets, He's over here. He's over here nickel and diamond, like just the average motherfucker.
He clearly ran a little test run to see if he could get away with making any kind of bets at all. I mean, that's what I would have put up, like 1,500, like $2,000. I'm not going all in just in case they catch me. I'm not. But it's cost the dude because he was set to make $11 million next season.
Yep.
So he is being penalized $11 million on a $1,500 mistake that nobody's arguing is a mistake. That nobody's arguing goes against the principles of football. But $11 million for that? You're going to hit me for 11 M's?
Damn.
And then I got to reinstate?
Right.
And I mean, look, if you know the league, you also know
it's very
probably
possible he don't get picked up.
And it's very possible he won't be. They may just cut him. This would be a situation where I could see the Falcons going to the NFL and saying, "Hey, look, this ain't fair to us. He did this. We should at least get alleviated some of the dead cap space that he would have."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the NFL will fuck around and be like, "Okay, cool. You don't have to get penalized for releasing him," and they'll cut him, so he'll be out of a job and out of his $11 million. With nothing as a negative effect for the Falcons. So, I think that potentially this could be and I put a poll up in the chat. Make sure you guys check the poll out. The poll is sitting there right now asking whether or not you believe that the punishment for Calvin Ridley is too harsh. Right now, we are looking at 61% of you say it's too harsh. 39% say that it is not harsh enough, or it's not too harsh. Let's not toss words in people's mouths. But, a good portion of people think it's too harsh. I'm torn. I don't necessarily know where I stand in that regard, because I do believe in the integrity of the game. But I think there's a lot of things that are variables that kind of chip away at that integrity to begin with. In football. But, those are things that are more, that are speculations on our parts more than anything we can prove. We can prove that he gambled on this.
Yep.
That much we know.
But,
that much we know.
Anytime there's a situation like this, they're always going to make an example of the first guy.
And so that is very true.
Heavy.
This isn't the first NFL player who's been caught. There was a practice squad player who was caught in 2019, but once you say practice squad, that shit don't count.
They're like, that's like a real player.
Practice squad's not a real player. Practice squad is a practice guy. It's not a guy who dresses, not a guy who has any,
right.
Maybe technically
the first
speaking,
player,
practice player is more, yes. A player of note, a player who is being paid a full paragraph 5 salary for his services, not somebody who is literally relegated to tackling dummy practice scout team guy. That's not what we're talking about here.
Right. You
which,
suspend him for a year.
all due respect, they get
I
insurance
might not have
benefits
been
now.
there a
So,
year.
hey,
Say, hey, I might not have been here next year anyways.
you know what I
practice
mean?
squad guy.
That's a guy that they lose nothing if they cut him. They lose nothing. It's literally, we don't care. Get the fuck out.
I
We
might
changed the
double
code before you got here today. Get out.
up.
That's how it is with practice squad.
My car doesn't seem to be working today.
Yeah, they locked me out. What's the meme? That's the meme now. Hey,
Oh,
what's
that's
up?
fucked up. I actually love
but fuck them.
practice squad guys.
We're ruthless here. So, looking at this, and again, I really do believe that if you get caught doing this shit, you should be punished. Now, there has to be consideration for all parts. He did meet with Goodell. He admitted to Goodell that he did it. He didn't try to deny it. And, that was noted in the official release statement from the NFL. But again, I mean, his whole season, 11 million. I mean, I could see like, okay, let's think about this for a second. And I think this is another point that people, if you're really being honest with yourself, this is literally worse than what Calvin Ridley did, in my opinion. Tom Brady deflating footballs. How many games did he get for that? 4? 6?
Ultimately. And that was,
he got 4 games. It was started at 6 and they brought it down to 4.
Yeah, he appealed it. And I think at the end, he just gave up because he was like, fuck it. I don't want to, hash it out and end up losing more games
if we're talking
over
about
time.
You're right. If we're talking about the integrity of the fucking game, Tom Brady deflated footballs during a playoff game with a chance to get to the Super Bowl, I believe. Either it was it may have been divisional. I believe it was divisional. But let's be real. When you get caught, it ain't the first time you've done some shit like that.
Right.
When you get caught, it's just the first time you got caught. But you usually get caught because you become complacent in how you do it, and you're not paying attention to little details, and you end up slipping up. So Tom Brady may well have been cheating his entire career in the playoffs, deflating balls in cold weather games to give his receivers the ability to catch the balls easier. You have literally undermined the entire integrity of the NFL as a competitive sport in doing that. There was a legal investigation into this because Tom Brady destroyed his cell phone.
We're up here spending taxpayer dollars on this shit, man. That's insane to me.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, this dude literally destroyed his cell phone when the government was investigating this.
Obstruction of justice, man. Come on.
4 games. So where's the consistency? Where's the continuity in that? Because that was actual cheating. That was literal cheating. You got film of fucking Titans players grabbing the ball after a tackle to give to the referee, and he squeezes it, and it fucking folds in on him. And he looks at the ball like, what the fuck? He's like, hey, look at this, ref, and tosses him the ball. Like,
I don't know. No, I ain't see nothing.
Hey, you have the, and I mean, hey, look, we all know. I mean, the players in the league, you say who's the cheaters, you know there's only one team that gets called up first, and New England motherfucking Patriots. 2007. Spygate. This was literally cheating, being caught red-handed. You got tapes of other teams' signals, calls, formations, everything that you could, every part of the recipe to do a good cheat, to do some good cheating. The New England Patriots got caught. They got caught.
Yeah.
$500,000 fine, and they lost like 2 draft picks.
Yeah, I mean, they'll piss away $500,000.
I mean, Belichick wrote a personal. I mean, Rob Kraft wrote a personal check for that one. That don't even come out the team's budget.
You want my pocket money?
You know what I mean? So when we're talking about the integrity of the sport, there is a trail of destruction that completely contradicts the statement of Roger Goodell to try and argue that Calvin Ridley is undermining the integrity of the sport. The integrity of the sport has been undermined numerous times by numerous people in high up positions, yet the lowly player who was not even on the roster is an active player at the time, gets a year-long suspension when Bill Belichick never got a suspension. Tom Brady got a 4-game suspension after the second time that his team got caught cheating. The second time, he got a 4-game suspension. And now, here you have the owner of the Dolphins being accused of offering Brian Flores $100,000 a loss. That undermines the integrity of the game. Hugh Jackson out in Cleveland, he act like he didn't know, but he knew he was getting paid to lose in Cleveland. It's in the contract. You can go look at the paperwork. It's on a contract. If you really want to investigate it, you can find the undermining of the game's actual integrity on numerous levels in the NFL. Yet none of these people have faced any consequences of any true stature except for the guy who bet $1,500 on a fucking phone app, and he's sitting out a year and he's essentially being fined $11 million.
Yep.
So where is the consistency in the statement of protecting the integrity of the game, Roger Goodell? Because it doesn't appear that there has been any true protection of the integrity of football for a long time, in my eyes. That's how I see it. That's how I see it. So, you know, at the end of the day, I feel like, setting him, creating an example out of Calvin Ridley is to be expected. But if you're being honest with yourself, this ain't shit compared to what you've let slide already.
Oh, no doubt.
This ain't shit.
No doubt.
So I think that's that's fair. For me, that's all that I really got to say on the matter, because you can just go down the list. There's history here of the NFL not protecting its integrity. So now they want to protect it. I'm not trying to hear that shit. I get where this comes from as a consequence, just because of what it is. Because politically, and I'm not even I don't even want to say being politically correct. Just, for image sake, you have to suspend them for a year. It has to be a significant punishment. But if people are really being serious with themselves and thinking about, how does this match up to the other times that they've caught guys fucking off like this? Well, it doesn't match up it matches up like in a very counterproductive way. Because if you're talking about a year-long ban, well, the New England Patriots, maybe they should have been banned from being allowed into the postseason for a year or two. And with Belichick being gone for that entire year. And then when Brady cheated and deflated balls and then destroyed his phone, maybe he should have been suspended for an entire year and have to try and get himself reinstated for the following season after that at the minimum.
Yeah, because we have seen a coach be suspended for a year.
Sean Payton.
Boom. After Bountygate.
Bountygate, yeah. You put money on something, you're done for a year. And I mean, look, they were playing with way more money than what Calvin Ridley was playing with.
Yep.
But you see this scenario play itself out in multiple different ways, and none of them being consistent with what you would expect for somebody who does something as egregious as actually cheating, like in a very slick and calculated way, and not being actually held accountable to the fullest extent that you act like you want to do when somebody puts $1,500 on the game. So
clearly it's a stigma with gambling itself and not the integrity of the game part. It's like you can undermine the integrity of the game all you want to, as long as it's not by gambling.
As long as it's not with money signs next to it. Then you're good.
For whatever reason, I can lower a goalpost by 6 inches or something. I could have, anything that just maybe affects on-field play. But as soon as it's money, Now it's a big
Fucking
deal.
son of a bitch.
How dare you?
How dare you? It's crazy, right? I mean, it's crazy. That's insane because he doesn't actually affect the game in any way by doing what he did. He does not affect anything.
No one else knew about it.
No one else knew. If that's true, then no one else knew. No one else. He wasn't playing. He wasn't even with the team, so it's not like he was even in the seeing what's going on in practice and injury reports, and he knows whether or not to bet on his team or not. He literally was at the crib fucking around on the app.
Yeah.
It let him in, and he's like, "Oh shit! All right, let me put a couple bets in."
He got the same information everyone watching us right now has. The shit you can watch. I can log on. Oh, this cat's got a hamstring. This, whatever. This guy caught 5 balls at practice today. I mean, he's not getting any, sensitive information from being at practice anymore. Like we said, he's at the house chilling on my phone. Might have had a few.
Yeah. He was in a state where it was legal. There was an app. He said, "Let me see what's up. I'm not playing. It's not like I'm out there. Shit, I might as well let's see what's going on." Now, maybe if he doesn't get caught there, maybe he does more. Maybe it escalates. Then you can say, okay, yeah. But even at then, until he's out there on the field as a player, how is it really truly affecting the team?
Exactly. But I do think that's where people have the problem. Like in a vacuum, I wouldn't give a fuck if you, gambled your whole salary for your team to win. But the problem is when your ass lose, and now you got to do something to make that money back.
Now your ass got to ball out every week.
Or if you start throwing games to oh man, you owe me $5 million.
The problem is you're down $5 million, and somebody comes and says, "Look, you want to make that back? I need you to do this weekend."
It's gonna take you 3 years to make it back the honest way, but you can make it up to me tonight.
You can make it back in 2 weeks if y'all just don't make the playoffs on this playoff run. Y'all lose 3 out of these next 4, and you get all that money back.
Hey, be like,
I'm throwing that motherfucking game. Shit.
It'd be like Blue Chips.
He just lets Donald through.
You remember Blue Chips? You don't even gotta lose the game. You just gotta win by less than 7, or whatever the fucking number is.
You know what I mean?
Not that a lowly offensive lineman has that much, effect on the point total of the game.
For real.
I'll find a way.
Hey, a couple extra sacks. That might do it. You know what I mean? Like you look at a game, you look like that Bengals game against the Titans. Like, yo, somebody over here throwing this shit. This motherfucker got 9 sacks.
Like
somebody's throwing it.
Fucking Titans don't get 9 sacks against the middle school team.
Don't got a pass rush. Shit. But I mean, look. There's an argument that can be made about a litany of different things about the NFL that are not treated nearly as harshly as this. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about domestic violence in the NFL. Well, while statistically speaking, domestic violence in the NFL is far and away lower than in the general population. I don't care how many things you've seen on TV. It is far and away statistically, and it is held up over decades, far and away happens less amongst NFL players compared to regular population. But in these cases where there is an emphasis put on player code of conduct, and there's an emphasis put on the punitive things that can happen for any player who is found to have been involved in it, even if you have not been charged.
Yep.
The NFL has levied out, somewhat, soft kitten mittens punishments. Like they gave Greg Hardy 10 games for, slamming his girl on top of guns and choking her out twice, and that's a year-long suspension at least. If I'm the commissioner, when I look at a situation like that, the only person who really got treated with a heavy hand was the first one who got it. The first one who got it in the Goodell player conduct era, Ray Rice.
Yeah. So I remember as soon as he had that,
name.
once he got that unilateral power to just,
once he got that unilateral power to make decision on anybody, regardless of whether or not there's even a police case even started on it.
You knew the first cat was gonna be
the
done.
first cat was finna get tossed up. You already knew it.
Everybody was like, "Hey, don't let it be you.
Don't let it be you. Don't be that guy."
Because they can do whatever they want to you right now.
Because they letting Goodell do whatever he want now. And then what he do? First thing he did, he got his ass on camera in the elevator, just straight clocking his dang wife or his girl at the time, knocking her unconscious, dragging her out. I mean, it was pretty fucking bad. Yes. Did he deserve to lose his career?
It was hard to watch.
Because that was a cancellation. Let's talk about that. That was a cancellation. It was hard to watch that.
Yeah, that was canceled before cancel culture.
I was canceling them before cancel culture, and nobody seemed to have a fucking problem with that. Nobody. I mean, I ain't gonna front. I was like, he's done. Get him out of here. He's done.
Yeah. I mean, shit like that looks so fucking bad. But we've had other instances since then where guys are still playing.
Guys, I mean, if it's not that, I mean, look, I think that it's a double-edged sword when you have these kind of when you have a guy who can make decisions like Goodell can, because you look at a situation like, I think his name was Jarius Gray, running back with the Washington Command, or whatever the fuck we're going to go. Let's say the Washington football team at the time. He got into a situation where they said there was a potential for domestic violence, and just the mention of it, Washington cut him immediately.
Yeah.
This is a guy who was, working to be the number one running back. He was cut immediately. And then it turns out that it didn't happen, and they didn't press any charges against him. Well, he's been out the NFL for a year now.
I'm about to say, once that toothpaste out the tube, it's hard to get back in.
It's hard to get it back in. So this is a guy who is on the flip side. There's another showing of lack of consistency. That he did not actually do what was said to have been done, what he was being accused of, and he still is out of a career. There's a lot of people you can look at like that who are treated differently than, because they're one level of NFL player compared to the other. And again, nobody's making an excuse for Calvin Ridley, but we can't sit here in the NFL and they can't sit there and honestly, with a straight face, talk about the integrity of the game when we've seen it be compromised on numerous occasions to little fucking ado from the league itself. They might change a rule or some shit next year, but it's not really, it's not like that's going to stop somebody from, deflating 2 or 3 of the 30 balls that are used in the game.
What's every new coach say? I'm not gonna treat everybody equal, but I'm gonna treat everybody fair.
Which I mean, there's an argument to be made against that when you talk about people like Tom Brady, because we know pretty damn well that he gets treated with preference. We knew that.
If Cam Newton deflate some footballs, boy.
Year long. Indefinitely, at least until the year 2022. You know it. Ain't no high siding on that. Ain't no capping there. If it's anybody else who did what Tom Brady did with them footballs, they ass would have been done for the season. At least. And that's, shit. That's just real. That's real as it gets right there. But, I look at this and I just say, hey, that's why you can't be that guy. You don't want to be that guy. You just don't want to be the guy who gets caught up in that, because you can make arguments all you want. They said he has 3 days to actually appeal it. I doubt he'll appeal it. There's no point in appealing shit with the NFL. I can tell you that right now. There's no point in that, because you're not talking to a deliberative body. You're talking to one person.
A man.
And you think they're going to say, oh, I was wrong. Shouldn't have done that. No, they're not going to say that.
Not in his vocabulary. And then if he changes his mind, he's got to go back to them owners and explain, what the fuck happened.
Yeah. And hey, the owners
we wanted this fucking guy gone. What are you doing?
And you know, and that's part of, and to me that's a little bit sad because
he's not about to fuck up his money.
Yeah, it's all about the money for them. It's all about the money for them. All about the money for them. But let it be about the money for the player and they being selfish. Let it be about the money for the player and they not a team guy. You know, I got to be a team guy and take less money while we know your team value, the team value just shot up another 200 or 300 million after this season. Like, come on. It's never truly fair in any way, shape, or form. And you know, when you're the guy who gets caught in the crosshairs and they let that shit out to the public, you know, some people are gonna pile on, but I think a lot of people here look at it and they've seen enough to know that, you know, okay, yeah, he got caught gambling, but NFL been rigged for a minute. That's what people think. I'm not saying that's what I think. I'm saying that's what some people believe to be the situation with the NFL. And I mean, look, me and you know that it's very hard to rig the NFL. It would be unbelievably hard. But is there a favoritism that's given in situations that play out to one team's benefit over another sometimes? I think there is. I think there is.
And there's
so
inherent biases.
You know, there are biases there. And I think, you know, again, I mean, coming from a small market team myself, you know, I've seen them biases play out in real time. I'm like, motherfucker, I knew something was about to happen. This shit's been going too good for us. You know? So that's you know, these are things that are part of the NFL experience at this point. And I think it's fair enough to say that, you know, that we can just kind of round that conversation up with a big old, you know, shit, you know. Sorry for you, cuz.
Yeah, man. I really hate this, you know, for the young man. Because I remember talking about it a little bit, like when he was, you know, not playing for a long time, and there was like, he's, you know, he got personal issues. Put him on NFI. I was like, damn, I really, you know, I hate, you know, whatever he's going through. I mean, nowadays, you know, we're seeing more and more cats, you know, step away, take breaks from, you know, their respective sports, you know, to focus on getting their mind right and shit. So I was like, damn, you know, I really hope it's nothing, you know, really bad going on in the guy's life or nothing like that.
I mean, we've heard about that.
Months later, this comes out.
Yeah, a couple of times we heard about that, and
shit breaks my heart.
He was off, you know, and this is another stress that's going to be on his life, obviously, you know. But hey, you did it. You did the crime. Now we can't deny that you did it. You got to take your accountability there. You the one who did it. You knew what the rules were. We all know what the rules were. We all know that it don't even matter if it's a $5 bet. You know, if it's legal, like if it's on something officially that says that we bet that $5 on a game, that's your ass. You know that.
Yep.
You should know that. You know,
I do my shit in person, player.
You know, go get you a bookie. Somebody who's paying cash out. If you're gonna do it like that, go get you a bookie, get cashed out, and don't never put nothing on anything electronic. You know what I mean? Just hey, you know, and that's that. I mean, at least if you're gonna do it, you're giving yourself the least. You're exposing yourself the least. You go on one of these apps, you got to sign up for that.
Right. That phone know where you at 24/7.
It knows where you're at. It knows who you are, and it will link your name to your actual celebrity persona, and that's how they get you. And that's what they did. I mean, it was pretty simple.
No. He had to sign in with his face, so that might.
Oh man, you had to take a picture with you. You had to send them a picture of your driver's license. They know it's you. They like.
I don't know if you really had to do that.
Calvin Ridley just signed up. What do I do?
Should we take his bet?
Should we take the bet? Fuck that. I'm not a Falcons fan. Take the bet. We're gonna get his ass. Take the bet. We're gonna get his ass.
Damn, that's crazy. That's crazy how y'all took his bet.
That's another thing. They took multiple bets from this cat.
No barricade, nothing to prevent him from taking the bet, making the bet.
I mean, not even like a warning page popped up like,
hey, are you sure you want to be
show that there is a Calvin Ridley in the NFL with this birth date.
Yes. Are you this Calvin Ridley?
Know that the rules of the NFL say that you are not allowed to gamble. Are you sure you want to sign up for this page? Then it's
Last
like
chance.
you made him doubt himself.
Right. Are pick the picture with a motorcycle.
And hey, what if it's like, hey, pick the picture of the wide receiver.
Yes,
Pick the picture of the wide receiver to continue. And it's all different pictures of Calvin Ridley catching balls. Right there, I'm like, oh, no.
Damn.
Somebody knows something. I'm good.
Oh, yes. I hadn't thought about this point, and I'm not saying that these companies should get in any kind of trouble by any means because they're just trying to turn a buck. But it's crazy how they took the bet.
Now, if he lost money there,
nothing prevented them from taking the bet.
You know what I mean?
Nothing prevented them from taking the bet.
Nothing.
But they showed
if they have a system, and if they have a company that the NFL's hired to actually like trace these bets, then how come they still allowed them to bet it? It should have been canceled. It shouldn't have been allowed to even go through. And then, and this is how if you're really thinking about being, fair and consistent about how you handle things as a league, it would say you would have it, as it traced back to him, which I'm assuming would happen quite instantly because it's being done electronically. I would assume that there would be a cancellation on all his bets. And once those bets are canceled and he sees that they've been canceled and he sees that there is an issue that's come up, then he'll receive a FedEx the next day from the NFL saying, hey, we want to remind you that you cannot bet on NFL games, whether you are on with the active roster or not. As an active NFL player, we received information that your phone may have made some bets or tried to make some bets. And we just want to let you know, if that was you on the phone, you doing that, don't do that shit again. Because if you do, we ain't sending you no more. We ain't sending you no damn FedEx warning you about shit. We sending you a FedEx letting you know that you're not playing the rest of next year. So just making sure you're good. Holla at you later, Roger.
Yeah. I don't know if this is your phone or not. But I mean, there should be a fucking red phone on Roger's desk that just lights up,
when something like critical happens.
Yeah. Like, there's somebody by the name of Calvin Ridley is trying to make some bets on our website.
Now, we don't know if this is him yet, but the birth date is the same.
How should we proceed?
Yeah.
Oh, let him bet? Let him bet and just fire him? Okay.
Let the bets go. Just let the bets go through.
Do we gotta pay out though?
What if we lose? You gonna pay us back?
You got it, right? You got it. Shit, Roger making 50 a year.
I think that it really was a very ill-conceived move by him, but also the NFL should be. I feel like there should still be tiers of punishment when you're talking about how a situation plays out. I'm not necessarily, and I think I am kind of coming down on the side of the punishment might have been a little harsh, considering what the bet, what he was actually doing. And the circumstances that he was not with the team, and that nobody on the team knew that he did this. Mm-hmm. I think that's where I can come down and say, you know what, maybe a year, maybe half a season would have been right. That sends a good enough message. Give him the ability to make something next year,
right? Yeah,
because look, you suspended people for indefinitely, which is indefinitely means a season. That's what that means in the NFL. Indefinitely means 1 year, and then you got to apply to get back in. But I feel like personally, with this situation,
you're not guaranteed to get back in.
A guy, and you're not guaranteed. It's not a guarantee. You have to go through a process. Like, now, I will say that I also believe that this is part of it too, as well. And this is something you're not going to hear about because they keep this confidential. He's probably in the program now on top of that, because they probably will put him in the drug abuse program, the substance abuse program, because he got caught doing this. That's an automatic for guys. In the NFL, if you get arrested for anything, you can get arrested for a failure to appear in court. You will get drug tested the next day by the NFL. There will be somebody who will show up at your door at home whenever you get out of jail, and they will be like, we need you to piss in this cup. Now, a lot of motherfuckers get caught with that. They're going to be like, fuck, because they know they dirty. They got some weed or something in their system. And it's going to be like, yeah, you're in the program on top of, we might suspend you for getting arrested, and we're going to get you fine. We're going to make you take drug tests for the next 2 football seasons nonstop. So good luck. And we're going to have you do a psych evaluation because you could be crazy too. Because that's what they'll do to you. That's literally how it goes.
Yeah, salt in the wound, man.
Let's look at some super chats here real quick. We've gone on about this, so we're probably going to just stick with this topic for the rest of the show. And we'll watch some film on O-line on Wednesday. I want to go over the draft stuff too. There's some draft numbers that have come out, obviously, we had some big boys out there running fast now. Woo! But we'll talk about that on Wednesday. Let's take a look. There's a couple super chats here that I know have to do with the O-line here, so I'm going to read them off. But guys, we'll answer these more specifically, on Wednesday. Now, Kyle Donovan for $10 says, I don't think we should draft Neal after the Jokel experiment went awry. I'm sorry. Extend Cam Robinson and draft the defense in the first. NFL brought this gambling issue on themselves. Now, we're going through film on these O-linemen, and I don't think that Evan Neal is the best offensive lineman in the draft. I just don't believe it. And I've only looked, and we've only looked at 2 guys.
Yeah, we've only seen 2.
We've only seen 2.
So that lets you know who we think is better.
The second one, I think, is better than him, and he was one of the 2. And I think that, just looking at those 2 teams' films, is kind of evident that one guy has got talent, but uses more brute strength than anything to just overpower, where the other guy has much more polished technique, uses that technique, actually shows the awareness of somebody who's ready to play in the NFL. Yeah. And it looks good. So we'll look more at that on Wednesday.
Prospect.
Much more polished.
I mean, Evan Neal might be a Hall of Famer. I don't fucking know. I mean,
we don't know. We're just looking at it from our perspective.
I can't teach 6'9", 350.
Yeah, he either got it or he don't. And
I can teach you a lot of the other things that we talked about him doing. So that's a matter of.
And I'm not Alabama doesn't have a big history of putting out good offensive linemen. Not recent history. There are more skill positions and some defensive linemen. But mainly, they're not known as a team that punches out a bunch of good O-linemen.
They get cats drafted, but honestly,
they get guys drafted, but they never end up really.
I don't think have really.
They haven't
lived up to the draft status for the most part.
Yeah,
obviously, there's going to be some exceptions. I'm trying to think of the last great Alabama.
I can't think of
Chris Samuels. And that's pre-Saban.
Samuels.
Chris Samuels. And he was pre-Saban. For the Redskins.
He's a minute ago. Yeah, he's a minute ago.
So he's pre-Saban. I'm trying to think of really awesome Bama linemen in the Saban era. And I'm sure there's some.
Yeah, even from defensive linemen, even with the D-line, you haven't seen a ton of Alabama talent on O-line and D-line come out into the NFL and be consistently great players. I think that you get a lot of good D linemen from the West Coast in football. I think you get a lot of great offensive linemen from the Midwest because you have those are the Big Ten teams. I think you get some good linemen out of the SEC. Usually you'll get you'll see linemen here and there from the offensive line standpoint, but generally you can kind of attribute regions of areas where teams played to what kind of positions they put out. Purdue is put out consistently. Purdue puts out good defensive linemen, and they put out good offensive linemen, or they put out solid offensive linemen, good defensive linemen, and every few years they got a quarterback you can look at as well. But Michigan, Wisconsin, they put out offensive linemen.
Back in the day, Nebraska.
Penn State puts out offensive linemen, running backs, sometimes receivers, linebackers for sure. Penn State's been known as linebacker U before. So it depends. It depends on the time and the place. But For Alabama and their offensive linemen, I just don't see Evan Neal as being that guy, but we'll see. We'll see how things play out. As far as Cam Robinson goes, Cam Robinson, inconsistent guy. He has good skill and he's shown flashes of being really good, but they're gonna hit him with another tag. They're not gonna extend him because he's just not quite an extendable player like that. And you know, well, like you say, the gambling issues have been brought on itself, and we agree with you there. I think the NFL has kind of brought that on themselves because they simply got in bed with gambling. So when you get in bed with gambling, when you move a team to a gambling city, don't be surprised if you see some gambling going on. Jason Gaines for $5. He says, Justin, you played with Peter Cons from 2012 to 2014. I thought he did a good job as a rookie in 2012 and stabilized right guard. Why did he still become a bust?
Ooh. It's tough to put a finger on why guys don't pan out sometimes. Because, I mean, being behind the scenes, I know that he worked his ass off and he was a smart guy. Sometimes the guys aren't like a scheme fit all the time, which, that's an upstairs problem. And we were kind of like transitioning to, more zone, outside zone, especially when Shanahan got there. That's part of why I got up out of there.
Hold on. Oh, Shanahan. I thought I was going to say Callahan. Oh God.
Oh,
dude, I swear to God, and this is off subject, and I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good.
But Brian, I think it's Brian Callahan. Is that his name? Bill Callahan.
Bill Callahan. The O-line whisperer.
I fucking hate. I hated him as my O-line coach in Dallas. I was like, you have got to be fucking kidding me. Is this how he thinks you, bruh? You know what he was telling me? And I was like, you're insane. I'm not going to do that. He was like, I want you to punch with your inside hand first. I was like, what? Inside hand first? Like inside hand first? Like expose all of this?
Wait, this inside?
I was like, you got me fucked up. I'm like, because the first day that I did one-on-one pass rush with them, I two pancakes, one against the first string, one against the second string.
Mm-hmm.
And when we watched it on film, he saw the kick, and then as soon as that D lineman tried to reach that outside arm, he just saw that right arm just yam right into his dang armpit, and then he just off balance. Then my inside came, and I did the old flip him on his head shit, just
yeah.
And it was over with. He's like, I love it, Uch. I love it. But one thing I want to show you. He said, get up. I'm like, get up? What? Like, yeah, get up. Let me see you get in your stance. I'm like, get in my stance? What the fuck, nigga? We watching film. What are you talking about? He's like, see what I want you to do here. See what I want you to do here. What you go to your inside hand first. Inside hand. Would have inside leverage first. I'm like, bruh, I have been taught that is a cardinal sin. If you punch with your inside hand against a 3 technique, you're asking to get your ass beat. You're asking to get beat.
How is that supposed to work?
So I'm sitting there and I'm like, yeah. I sat down after he said, this is what I want you to do. And after I did all that demonstration shit, I sat down. I looked at Tyrion Smith. I looked at him. I said, hell no. Hell no. So I want to see that in practice tomorrow. I'm like, nigga, hell no. You ain't sending me up the creek. That's a setup. That sounds like a setup to me, cuz.
Yeah, I'd be like,
because I ain't never heard that from a coach ever. To
Zach,
give your inside up like that.
Y'all all be doing this? Show me how.
That's what I was like. There's no way y'all doing it. And I'm watching the practices, and I'm like, they ain't doing that. They ain't nobody shooting with their inside hand first.
Because that shit don't work.
He was telling me to shoot with my inside hand on a 3 technique. I was
so I gotta go across my body.
Cross my body? Like take myself completely out of balance? What? No. I won't do it. Anyways,
Woo.
no, keep going, man. I mean, I'm sorry. I took it's something when you said when I heard that. I just had a flashback when you said it. That's all I know.
Oh no, that's fascinating to me because he's always regarded as like the fucking O-line guru,
as the O-line whisperer. But I mean, dude, I had Andy
But-
Heck for 6 years,
if
and I was
he's-
like, Andy Heck is a better O-line coach than you, bro. But he's not a bad O-line coach, but he's not like. But that shit just did not make sense to me, and I would always
if
ask
he's
dudes
teaching
after
that.
practice, like, I'm like, bro, does that make sense? They'd be like,
If he's teaching that, he can't be that good.
and they
He's
was
just
like,
landing
just do what you know to do. I was like, you damn right I am.
Just block
Shit.
motherfuckers,
I'm gonna block him. I don't give a fuck about no inside hand. You gotta be shoot. So
yeah. So back to Peter Collins. Yeah, we were in the middle of like changing up some shit schematically. Maybe he might have got caught in that. I'm really not sure because I mean I liked him as a player. He worked his ass off, strong, smart. All the things you ask for in a center. And I guess ultimately played some guard too. I really can't say because I mean he had a lot of flashes and in practice I thought he did a lot of really, really, really good things. I can't say.
And you know this as well as I do.
Things that make
some
you go,
guys, some things. There's some guys are in a situation with as a like you said, schematically where they have to change so much about their game to kind of like rework themselves to being like a fit for the scheme that they never really like. It's like your ceiling is gotten a little bit lower now because of that. Now, if you stuck with like for instance, it's like saying it's like having a run stuffing defensive tackle versus a pass rushing DT. Like a pass rushing DT is only going to be just decent at playing the run, but if they really thrive when you let them get in a wide three and rush.
Yep.
And if you change your defense and say, okay, now we're going to put you at the nose. Well, yeah, he can hold up there, but he's never going to make a play. He's never going to make a pass rushing play either. So his ceiling has come down. He can't be as good.
And offensive linemen don't have the luxury of specializing.
Yeah, there's no such thing as specializing. You can do everything or you can't do anything. We're not putting you in on third down to come block. Like,
yeah, no one's doing that shit.
You're not no third down left tackle. Yeah, they're putting in their third down tackle. That's not gonna work. And that's kind of the unfairness of the O-line is that we got to be able to do everything. We got to be able to block for every kind of play that we have. And the only time you get guys who come in to specialize is when they're just coming in to do more blocking, or we need more blocking. We need overwhelming blocking numbers. And they bring in the tackle at tight end and the tackle at fullback, and and you're trying to force your way in from on 4th and 1. That's specializing for for the offensive line.
That's as close as it gets for us.
Yeah, that's as good. I mean, look, man. When I was a rookie, and there was like, yeah, Ooch, we're gonna use you on this formation. If we run this play, you're gonna wipe your chest so the referee knows you're eligible. And I'm like, am I gonna catch
bitch? I know how to report.
No. Like, am I gonna run a route? This is goal line, right? I'm gonna run a route? No. And then one week they're like, okay, Ooch, you ready? You're gonna be running a route on this one. You got it? You got me? You're gonna run a route,
decoy.
but don't worry, quarterback's not looking at you. You're just
no chance in hell we're looking at
you. We have told him specifically, do not throw it to the backside wide. That guy is just a decoy. You do not throw it over there.
If everyone else is covered and you're wide open by yourself, he's instructed to throw it away. Throw it out the back of the fucking end zone. Under no circumstance did he throw it to you.
Even on the play card, when he looks at his wrist, it says, no Ooch. No Ooch. Underline. Damn. It's like, don't even think about it. If you can't get it to this first, second, or third option, you throw it away. You throw it through the uprights. I want to see you score 3 with the throw. Uprights.
Try to run it yourself. But if that's not available,
if you dove over the linebacker to get in the end zone at the corner of the pylon. Don't throw it to that guy. Don't throw it to 77. Don't throw it to him.
Oh.
You do that, swear to God, we're pulling you the next drive. So but that is I think that's pretty much where we're at right now. As far as our discussion goes, we're going to leave it at that. We'll get back to watching some film on Wednesday. I thought it was important to kind of get this discussion in about the whole Calvin Ridley thing, because there was a lot to discuss, and it wasn't as simple as it looked with the reports that have come out. And there's a lot of questions that you can ask about why they're treating this situation like they're treating it when it's compared to so many other things. So I appreciate, and we appreciate, each of y'all being in here with us tonight. That is going to do it for the show. Make sure you hit that like button if you haven't already done so. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed. We will be back on Wednesday. We'll be looking at we'll have a full episode of film watching. If there's any headlines to talk about, we'll talk about them briefly, but we're going to get into watching some good film on the O-line. And if I am remembering correctly here, we're going to be watching, let me pull it up. Our next O-line breakdown, we're going to be watching Ikem Ekwonu. He is the North Carolina State offensive guard, 6'4", 320 pounds, 4'8", 40. And he is ranked 5th on the offensive line list on this list that we have here. So we're going to be looking at him. I know a lot of people have been talking about him. I know that people have really been keeping up with where these offensive linemen are going to fall, especially when you talk about a team like the Jags. We need a tackle. We need some O-line. We need some protections. Might be somebody the Jags might be wanting to look at. So make sure you're here for Wednesday's show. We will see you then. Hope everyone has a wonderful, wonderful evening. We are your linemen, and we will catch y'all on Wednesday. Peace.